Ben Johnson showed the Chicago Bears exactly why they should hire him as their next head coach. But in the same game, Caleb Willams also showed Ben Johnson why he should want to be the next Bears coach.
You are Locked On Bears, your daily Chicago Bears podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
This is Locked On Bears, and I'm your host, Lauren Cox. I'm here to bring you your daily, in-depth Chicago Bears news and analysis. You can follow me on Twitter at CoxSports1. You can follow the podcast at Locked On Bears on TikTok, Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, and the Locked On Bears YouTube channel, where you can keep up with all of our video podcasts as well. Thanks for making Locked On Bears your first listen today. We're part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel Sportsbooks. Right now, new customers can get $250 in bonus bets if you win your first $5 bet. Visit FanDuel.com to get started. On the show today, we look back over another Bears loss to the Detroit Lions, but the loss isn't really the important takeaway from this game. It's about Caleb Willams finding his energy, finding his spark, finding his groove, whatever you want to call it. He got back to looking and playing like Caleb Willams, and that's such an important thing for this Bears defense, or for this Bears offense. He just happens to do it in front of Ben Johnson, showing him why Ben Johnson should want to come to Chicago, and it was also a bit of an audition for Johnson as well, showing Bears fans, Bears management, Bears ownership of why he should be their next head coach in between all of the sort of messy, sloppy, kind of disastery sort of game that the Bears had around the good offense, or the good moments of Caleb Willams and the good offense from the Detroit Lions. But I want to start with Caleb because it had been kind of a growing concern over the last couple of weeks just how tentative and off Caleb looked against the 49ers and then against the Minnesota Vikings. And you were starting to wonder a little bit here, like, okay, are they doing some real permanent damage here that's going to be hard to undo? Are they breaking their quarterback because of just how bad they are, how poorly they execute, and just how much they lack an offensive identity, an offensive rhythm? I mean, it's been really bad, and it's been sort of deteriorating around Caleb. And then when we see him on the sideline, kind of laying down and really frustrated and having a kind of a hard time handling all the losses and the adversity. And he comes out against the Lions and sure starts slow, but over the course of the game gets back to playing like the electric playmaking quarterback that the Chicago Bears have invested their entire franchise into with the number one overall pick. And it's not as though like Caleb had to like reprove to us, but that he was, good. But to me, it's more about like showing that fight to finish the year as opposed to really kind of just crashing and burning and flaming out a little bit and kind of saying, all right, like we're on a 9-game losing streak. Why bother? And then not have anything super positive to build on going into the offseason and to build and get ready for next year. But in this game, you saw Caleb Willams get back to being more decisive, getting rid of the ball quickly, pulling the trigger on throws when the receivers are open instead of sort of waiting and hesitating and just not looking sharp, not looking super confident in that regard. Like he got back to it. He got into a rhythm. He was more decisive as a scrambler as well when he's running around and having to escape the pocket because your left tackle and left guard leave the game with injuries. Some of that's going to happen. And he, in previous weeks, he would just kind of hold it and be late to decide he needed to leave the pocket and then end up getting sacked. And in this game, he doesn't get sacked until the fourth quarter when, there was a play there where the whole line kind of fell apart and he just got washed away in it. But like, he did such a better job in all of these kind of areas that we had been getting concerned about the last couple of weeks. And I think you add on to it the fact that the Bears didn't really have much of a running game in this one. I mean, there were a couple drives where Swift got rolling, but he only finished with 2.2 yards per carry. Caleb Willams was your leading rusher, and that's what he had to do. And you add on the offensive line injuries, and he still puts together one of his best statistical performances of the season. Over 300 yards passing, 2 touchdowns, a passer rating over 100. Completion percentage wasn't like out of this world, 26 out of 40, but he took care of the football, never really put it into harm's way, and just looked like the playmaker again. getting out of the pocket and throwing the ball downfield. And really, I think the most impressive or important part that opened up for this Bears team in this game was they finally got the deep ball rolling. All year, this had been a pretty big weakness of this Bears offense that, okay, they could get into a rhythm with some underneath stuff sometimes, but whenever they would take shots downfield, Caleb Willams had a lot of trouble connecting with Rome Odunze or DJ Moore or Keenan Allen. But in this game, you absolutely saw the deeper passing game open up, I think partially because the Bears were losing by so much, so you didn't have much to lose, and you could kind of just let it rip and see if you can make something happen. So, of course, you get the 45-yard touchdown to Keenan Allen that ultimately gets things opening up. I believe that was Keenan Allen's longest touchdown catch of his career, I believe I saw. So you had him making big plays down the field. You had the slot fade to to Rome Odunze on 4th down, just throwing it over the top and letting your guy go up and get that ball. You had a deep one over the middle to DJ Moore as well. Like, he was spreading it around and letting it rip a little bit more downfield and hitting when he let it rip downfield. And that's been a missing dimension of this Bears offense all season. That doesn't mean all of a sudden, the passing game is fixed and that everything is great, but like, it's just nice to see that layer added back in to this and feeling like, okay, there's signs of progress for Caleb and for this offense, that they're still working on stuff and they are still getting better in some areas when it does seem like everything else kind of, goes out the window and so much is so bad. It's nice to find some of those little areas. And I can already hear people saying, oh, well, yeah, Caleb played well, but it was against such an injured Detroit Lions defense. Does it really count? Does it really mean all that much? And it absolutely does. Yes, it's not a top 5 caliber defense with all the injuries that they've had anymore, but it's not a terrible Detroit Lions defense either. And I think particularly when you see him layer in throws between coverage, and there are a couple tight window throws that he hit, like stuff where irrespective of who the defense was and what they had, like, it's an impressive throw and delivery from Caleb Willams, like almost regardless of who's on the other side there. It's just a level of difficulty there to hit some of those windows and to hit some of those throws. It's not like every pass was wide open and so he got 300 yards just by, having a nice easy stroll down the field. Like, he had to make impressive plays individually that, regardless of opponent, are difficult and show his ability and his talent. Maybe he had more opportunities to show his talent because the Lions were an injured defense that's struggling a little bit in some areas, but like, this is not the worst defense in football. This is not a terrible defense by any means. They're just not up to the top 5 level that we had seen them be earlier this season. But like, that to me was like real sustainable stuff from Caleb Willams that gives you a little more confidence going into the final 2 weeks of the season. Not that the Bears may win those games, but just that the offense can keep showing you some life and showing you some promise here and feel like, yes, there's something for the next head coach, maybe Ben Johnson, to come in and build off of there. Because other than those nice flashes from Caleb Willams, this game was a lot of sloppiness, a lot of missed opportunities, a lot of undisciplined football and stuff that just we've come to expect from this Bears team, but it really just starts to stack up drive after drive after drive of all the different things that what can go wrong did go wrong for the Bears, whereas I felt like the Lions couldn't do anything wrong in this game. So we'll take a look at some of the sloppiness, some of the missed opportunities, and then we'll turn our attention to Ben Johnson and the job he did trying to sort of showcase his stuff against his potential future employer next on Locked On Bears. This episode of Locked On Bears is sponsored by PrizePicks. If you love watching the game, you're going to love PrizePicks, the easiest and most exciting way to play daily fantasy sports. Whether it's football, basketball, or any of your favorite sports, PrizePicks makes your holidays bigger and brighter. And now you can win up to 1,000 times your money on PrizePicks. Plus, this holiday season, they're giving away $30+ million in rewards during Picksmas, and they're offering 2 free picks in the month of December. And when your picks hit, PrizePicks makes it easy to cash out, so you can get your money in as fast as 15 minutes. So if you want to pick the PrizePicks projection for Caleb Williams' passing yards, more or less, DeAndre Swift's rushing yards, Keenan Allen's receiving yards, both Keenan and Caleb were hitting the more this week on PrizePicks. However you want to play, it just adds that much more excitement when maybe the game itself isn't giving you a ton. PrizePicks brings you a deeper level of appreciation of what you're seeing on the field. Download the PrizePicks app today. and use our promo code LOCKEDONNFL to get $50 instantly when you play your first $5 lineup. That's right. Even if your lineup misses, you're still getting $50 added into your account when you play just $5 at PrizePicks. Run your game. This Bears performance was sloppy in so many ways because it felt like there were opportunities that they just kept squandering. And like it just felt like a laundry list of things going wrong from the very beginning. You know, you have Caleb Willams handing it off to Rome Odunze on the little end around and seemed to put it pretty squarely in the middle. Caleb, after the game, said, you know, he needs to put that in a better spot. It felt like it was too close to Odunze's hip. Maybe it was a little low, but I don't know. The slow motion close-up replay sure looked to me like it was dead center, and I think that's just Caleb trying to take some of the heat off of his teammate and say, hey, I'll take some blame for that. But to me, that felt like Rome Odunze has got to just have the handoff there. Like they should, that stuff's been, they should be practicing that stuff enough where it should be automatic and not something that can never go wrong. And yet, of course, it's a fumble and a turnover and a big issue for the Bears early on. And then you have like the very following drive for the Lions. Jared Goff throws a ball. I think they were trying to set up a screen pass, and it hits Tyreek Stevenson in the chest, and he can't hold on to it. It's funny that back-to-back situations there. The ball hits Rome Odunze in the chest, and he can't hold on to it, and he fumbles. The ball hits Tyreek Stevenson in the chest. He can't hold on to it, and it's a dropped interception that could have taken points off the board for the Detroit Lions. And then, of course, a little bit later, Rome Odunze gets the ball ripped out after the catch when the defense got holding up and just pulling on the ball. Like, it's stuff like that where, you know, maybe those drives don't end in touchdowns, but heck, if you could get a field goal on either or both of those drives, it goes a long way toward changing the flow of the game, you know, giving your defense more of a break, just allowing you to get on the scoreboard and feel like you're putting up a fight so you're not just getting blown out so quickly and so early in these games that you're trailing by 3 scores in the first quarter or in the first half and then trying to climb back in. And then, man, all the penalties in this game. How many times were the Bears flagged for holding or, you know, a couple, there weren't too many false starts, I guess, but like there was a play where Keenan Allen was lined up off sides on offense. Like he's just lined up over the line of scrimmage. And it's that kind of discipline and attention to detail stuff that's mind-boggling because Keenan Allen is a veteran player. Like he has been in this league for a long time. He knows, he's lined up. I haven't looked at his total snap counts, but I'm guessing 10,000 times in his NFL career has he lined up been lined up when the ball is snapped on the field. Like 10, maybe not quite 10,000, but he's probably at least in the 8,000 range. Like literally thousands of times. And yet there's a play in this game where for whatever reason he didn't line up properly on the line of scrimmage. Like that to me is the most inexcusable of all the penalties in this game. And that one has really stuck with me. Keenan Allen obviously had a great game. I think his highest receiving yards in a game this season, his first game over 100 yards. And, you know, it was really an important part of this offense. 141 yards, 9 catches, and a touchdown. He had a really good game. But how does a wide receiver, or anybody on offense, but especially a wide receiver, line up offsides? You know, whenever you can see on the game when a player lines up, the wide receiver, he will turn and look at the referee on the side, like the side judge that's lining at the line of scrimmage, and you'll see him turn and he'll hold out a full arm and like point to the referee when they're getting lined up, because as long as it's not late in the play, the wide receiver is allowed to ask the referee that way, hey, am I good? Am I on the line of scrimmage? And the referee says yes. So that way you can make sure that, because you're supposed to have 7 guys on the line of scrimmage. You know, one receiver on each side of the ball has to be on the line of scrimmage in addition to your 5 offensive linemen. And so that's why the wide receiver sticks out their hand to signal the referee, I'm on the line of scrimmage, correct? Or I'm stepping back and I'm behind the line of scrimmage, correct? Like wide receivers have the ability in the game to check in with the referee to make sure before the snap, hey, I'm not offsides, right? And yet Keenan Allen still lines up offsides. He didn't check in for whatever reason. He didn't. I don't know exactly what happened in the play, but it's insane to me that a veteran wide receiver can line up offsides on a play at this stage of his career. It's just it's absolutely inexcusable. And I don't mean it to be just all this criticism of Keenan Allen. It's just that one play really epitomizes the issues of how the Chicago Bears are coached and how they really handle themselves. Because then you get what the defense does, right? I mean, I was just complaining about the offense's fumbles and the penalties and just the lack of discipline and stuff. But then you get, just a lot of what felt to me like lackluster effort from a bunch of people on defense there. We continue to see Kevin Byard take some really poor angles from the safety position. I don't know if he's, whatever it is, like the last couple of games, he just isn't attacking downhill aggressively and coming in at the angle that he needs to and gets outrun by guys. And we've seen Tyreek Stevenson give up plenty of catches the last couple games. And of course, then perhaps the biggest and worst one in this game was the 82-yard touchdown to Jameson Williams, where he blows by Tyreek Stevenson and then Jonathan Owens is completely out of place. And so he blows by, you have a corner and a safety. You're essentially, you're not double covering him, but he is double covered on the play, right? The play call is not, hey, we're doubling Jameson Williams on this play. It's Tyreek Stevenson's trailing him, and if he goes deep, the safety's going to pick up whoever goes deep, and so it just happens to be doubling him on that play. But Owens, I don't know if he didn't see him coming and then didn't turn to run fast enough or just underestimated how fast Jameson Williams was, but your one job as a deep safety on that play is to not let anybody get deeper than you are. The cornerback can help with the underneath stuff. You just got to be deeper than him, and hopefully between the two of you, you've got him bracketed that way. But to let Jameson Williams blow by you is, again, I'll say inexcusable from this Bears defense. Jonathan Owens was horrendous in this game because he gave up another touchdown, I think, later in this game. I wrote down a note somewhere that he was, it was that play where Jared Goff did the fake stumble and Jahmyr Gibbs fell down and it was play action, and Sam Laporta just blows by Jonathan Owens. No idea that there's still a pass play going on here and that the tight end is running right by him, and then he's got a wide open, easy score on the end zone. I get that it's probably a trick play or whatever, but still, it's just a pretty abysmal game from Jonathan Owens. I think it says a lot that the leading tackler for the Chicago Bears in this game was Jonathan Owens, one of your two safeties in this game. He tied with TJ Edwards. They both had 8 combined tackles. Jonathan Owens led you with solo tackles in 7 because the running game kept getting up to him and they kept going after him in the passing game. It was really pretty abysmal across the board here. Again, I think Jalen Johnson is giving good effort. I think Kyler Gordon's giving good effort. I think TJ Edwards is playing his heart out there. And it's hard to find a lot of other guys that you feel really good about the effort consistently in this game. Jack Pickens had a nice sack in there, I suppose. The couple, Darrell Taylor had some good pressures on the quarterback and some disruption there, but the positives there were pretty few and far between. So you kind of add up. It's the penalties. It's not executing on third downs. It's the turnovers. It's guys fumbling. It's guys dropping interceptions. It's guys just not playing smart, not being locked in, beating themselves in so many ways. Obviously the Lions beat the Bears. The Lions beat up on the Bears. But on top of the Lions being a really good football team that's beating your your rear end there, on top of the beating they're giving you, you're also beating yourselves even worse. To make it even worse on top of all that. And that's the Bears this season in a nutshell, right? Yes, they're playing good teams who are playing well against them, but then also the Bears are making it easier on the good teams that they're playing against. And despite a really strong game from Caleb Williams and from Keenan Allen generally, it's just not enough when you can't run the ball and then you can't stop Detroit at all. I'll give the defense a little bit of credit. They made a couple of nice red zone stops in the first half, held them to field goals on a couple of those drives after the turnovers instead of touchdowns. But you give up 34 points over the course of the game. What are you going to do? It's just not, it's not winning. It's not a winning performance from the defense. It wasn't a winning performance from the offense as a whole. 17 points is not enough. But hey, I think Caleb Williams did his fair share. And it's the O-line and the running game and the defense that definitely need to provide a bit more to help him. And that's going to require, the next coach to come in and give the offense more of an identity, more of a rhythm, more of a structure. Give the defense, obviously, some retooling that's going to need to happen. And maybe that person is on the Detroit Lions sideline right now. We got to see one more game of Ben Johnson showing his stuff against the Bears. And I thought this one, too, was a really nice, easy to see example of the Lions offense having structure, having an identity. This is exactly what we're going to do. And you can see how well it works. So I want to dive in a little bit on what the Lions did so well on offense. That, yes, it was a bad Bears defense as well, but structurally, this offense was really, it's always really fun to watch and really well orchestrated. And that's sort of how Ben Johnson auditions a bit here for the Bears as an organization and Bears fans watching the game and trying to make up their minds. We'll look at the Ben Johnson offense from this game next. on Locked On Bears. This episode of Locked On Bears is brought to you by FanDuel Sportsbook. The NFL playoffs are almost here, but it's not too late to get in on the regular season action with FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook, because right now, new customers can finish the season strong with $250 in bonus bets if you win your first $5 bet. So if you want to bet $5 on Bears Seahawks this week, or any of your other favorite sports. I mean, they got NBA, college sports, hockey, soccer, tennis, boxing, the combat sports, you name it. They've got it all on FanDuel, including live in-game betting as well, with live play-by-play and stats all on the same page where you place your bets. There's so many different ways for you to pick up a W with FanDuel, even like player props on who's going to score a touchdown or how many points each team will score. It just gives you a little something extra to tune in for, even when the Bears maybe aren't playing so well in those games. So just visit FanDuel.com to join today. That's FanDuel.com for your chance at $250 in bonus bets if you win your first $5 bet. Make every moment more with FanDuel, an official sportsbook partner of the NFL. Ben Johnson wasn't literally auditioning for the Bears. I think Ben Johnson knows that he's one of the top candidates here and that, the Bears will be interested in his services and that he's got some leverage here in terms of where he might want to go and coach. And he also knows that his play calling in one game against the Bears is not going to be the deciding factor in whether they hire him or not. But I do think he knows that it sends a little bit more of a message, right? When you do it in Soldier Field with Kevin Warren in attendance, Ryan Poles. I mean, I know like Poles and stuff there at the road games too, but you know what I mean? Perhaps, I don't know if the McCaskies were there. I assume they're there in attendance and not at all the road games. Like, you know what I mean? You've got literally an entire organization watching you kick their butts for 4 quarters and do it in really, I think, structured, impressive fashion that I think the number one takeaway for me from Ben Johnson was like the amount of contrast he shows compared to what the Bears are doing on offense. It's striking. And that's his strongest argument and strongest showing to be the next head coach. It's like, while you're watching the Bears line up off sides and have all these penalties and not really have a lot of identity and structure behind everything, on the other side, you see an offense that's like really dialed in, executed at a high level. Guys aren't making mistakes. Guys are where they're supposed to be. They're not turning the ball over. They're on time, in rhythm, with an identity that's easy enough for us to even see it watching the game live on TV. Right? You don't have to go back through the all 22 film and slow it down and rewatch the plays to kind of get, okay, like what is it that the Lions are trying to do on offense? How does this offense work? You can see it watching TV live, right? They line up with 3 wide receivers and 1 tight end the majority of the time, kind of like the McVay style of keep the personnel kind of the same. They are a run. I don't want to say run first football team, but like that's what they want to do. They want to run the ball, and certainly there's differences when it comes to Jahmyr Gibbs versus David Montgomery and trying to get Gibbs outside a little bit more, Montgomery a little more up the middle, but like they want to consistently run the ball, then get rid of the ball quickly out of Jared Goff's hands, make sure that he's not, staying in the pocket and having to throw if 3, 4, 5 seconds into plays. He's got a quick time to throw on some of the, just timing rhythm underneath routes to get into a rhythm, get the offense moving, stay ahead of the sticks with the running game and some shorter passes. And then they build up to the play action, and that's where you have the deep shots in there. We heard the broadcast team talk about like the first read after the play action, it's the clear out route, right? It's play action. You're looking deep, then you're coming back down. They want to be able to open that up and fire deep. And there's something about, the rhythm of the play action too, right? Where, he turns, fakes the handoff, and then as he turns, he's at the bottom of his drop, then can step up and throw from there. Like it's all sort of a dance. It's the footwork is meticulous in there from the fake handoff to turning your eyes, turning your body upfield at the bottom of your drop, then hitching and firing the ball downfield. Like it's all very structured in that way. And it opens up so much when they can take those shots off of play action. I think in particular in this game, Ben Johnson was trying to showcase that because the Lions ran a lot of play action, like almost half of Jared Goff's passing plays came on play action. And as we talked about last week on the podcast, no quarterback has run less play action than Caleb Willams since Thomas Brown took over as offensive coordinator and play caller in week 11 or whatever that was. Like, this is Ben Johnson saying, see what play action can do for you, Caleb Williams. Look at how much it opens up for Jared Goff, how much it stresses your linebackers, TJ Edwards and Tremaine Edmonds, and your safeties as well, stepping up and then layering the ball behind them in coverage. Like, it's all very intentional, and it builds off of itself, right? And it's not running the ball in terms of like, hey, we're going to get a fullback and 2 tight ends on the field and just like pound the rock that way. Like, they do some of that, but it's more about sort of space, right? And creating matchups and numbers, right? Getting guys out of the box so that you can pound it in there, and making things look the same so that you're not sure if he's going to hand it off or if it is play action when he shows that fake. It's all very intentional so that the handoff, the running plays you call in the first quarter, you then run play action where the run looks exactly the same as the runs you were running earlier, but now it's a pass. And so the defense starts to learn, like, okay, I've seen him hand the ball off this way 2 or 3 times. Oh, they're running that same play again. I got it. Oh, nope. Play action. Now you're out of position. Now it's an easy throw for Jared Goff. Like, they make Goff's life easier by running the ball, by having quick hitting concepts, by having the deep shots to open things up, by running the play action off of that. And like, that's what we've wanted to see the Bears do for Caleb Williams and haven't been able to do for Caleb Williams, but exactly what you would then hire Ben Johnson to do for Caleb Williams and make his life that much easier. And that's not to say like he makes it so easy that anybody could do what Goff's doing in this offense. No, Goff is still having a really good season and playing really well. Like, you have to execute. You have to hit that 82-yard touchdown bomb, and that's not easy to do. But like, that's the difference between them being a 13-win team, right? Is that they make it easy on the quarterback and the quarterback's good. That's how you get to 13 wins. If you make it easy on the quarterback and the quarterback's not very good, then you're an 8, 9, 10 win team. And vice versa. If you make it hard on the quarterback, but the quarterback's great, you can still maybe be an 8, 9, 10 win team. But that married combination of quarterback with talent and offensive play caller making his life easier as well, like that's the whole dream. And that's the whole approach, the whole pitch of like why you would hire Ben Johnson. It's very clear. There's no questioning Ben Johnson as an offensive mind, as a play caller, as someone who can coordinate an offense. The question for Ben Johnson is leadership, head coach, culture, locker room, organization type stuff. How will he be when Dan Campbell is not the one setting the tone? That Lions team is Dan Campbell's team. Like, he is the identity there. They all play like him. They all act like him. They all want to be, they're Campbell's guys. And so when are they going to be Ben Johnson's guy? Like, does Ben Johnson have that style? Can he tap into that? Or, the fear there is that he's just, the next smart offensive coordinator who's not a very good head coach, but always been a smart offensive coordinator, but just wasn't cut out for the head coaching role, just better coordinator than head coach. And we have no way of being able to tell ahead of time, no way of really being able to predict or measure that based on, it's all intangible stuff. So it's kind of a, go for it, give him a try, see if he can do it, because there's no real way. So you can't point to like, oh, actually he does X, Y, and Z, so that means he's for sure going to be good at the head coaching side of stuff. You only really find out when he actually gets to do it, and that's sort of the scary part there. But if he's the best offensive mind you have available to you, take the sure thing there and hope that the head coach part works out, as opposed to trying to take someone that you think feels like more of a sure thing as a head coach, but maybe won't have the offensive part figured out. Is a different kind of risk and a different kind of gamble the Bears are going to be weighing right now with somebody like, say, Mike Vrabel, for example. We'll have a lot of time to keep digging into this Bears head coaching search on the Locked On Bears podcast, especially once the season is over. So make sure you hit the subscribe button on YouTube or wherever you listen to podcasts. That way you can keep up with all of our daily, in-depth Chicago Bears news and analysis. Thanks for making Locked On Bears your first listen today. We're part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. We might not be quite every day this week with the Christmas holiday in the middle of the week. Still figuring out if we're going to do crossover Thursday with Corbin Smith from Locked On Seahawks or not, but we might. I'm probably going to enjoy Christmas with my family, and if you celebrate Christmas, I hope you have the chance to enjoy Christmas with your family. We'll still have a podcast coming up tomorrow. Like, we'll get the start of the week strong, and then after the Bears game on Thursday night, we'll have a recap podcast for you on Friday for sure. It's just in the middle of the week. I'm not sure. I don't think we're going to have a full 5 days of podcast this week, but probably not one that comes out Christmas Day, but we'll have one that comes out the morning of the Seahawks game. We'll see. I haven't figured out my content schedule for this week, but I hope either way you hit that subscribe button to make sure you're not missing whatever days we're out this week through the holiday season. And then, we'll keep the train rolling through the rest of the regular season, and throughout the offseason, we won't be going anywhere. Just a short little, holiday day off or two here. So I hope that you are able to enjoy some time with your loved ones this holiday season. Even when the Bears are on a losing streak, you can still be a winner in the eyes of the people that are important to you in your life. And you can still tune in to the Locked On Bears podcast for another opportunity to bear down.